Do you shield from negativity? I learned a long time ago from Margaret Twaddell Flavel, was the first person who shared some ideas on natural shields. And I don't mean supplements. I mean, with our own being, we can shield from negativity. So here we go. There was a time, because many of you will relate to this, I can walk into a room being shy, introverted, sensitive, empathic. Nice recipe, except if you don't know how to shield. And you go to a room, and I would want to creep into a corner and hide and read a book, or don't know, didn't know how to fit in. And that was part of it for me. I know. However, when I worked at Lincoln Hospital, I can recall in the acute psych unit, feeling the energy of some people who were considered very dangerous and didn't feel anything in their presence. And there was one I can recall being called down to the emergency room, and we were supposed to rotate to see if somebody was the right person for us to take to the 12-bed, single rooms, experimental acute psychiatric unit, very minimal drug use, no electric shock, none of that, no study drugs or something, that hopefully to get to the core of what was going on. And they had to be pretty wickedly wild and disturbed. So I go down there, and this man looks really scary. I mean, handcuffed, police are there. But there was something about him where I felt okay. And I remembered what Margaret had said to me. If you're not feeling okay, shield. If you're feeling okay, then remember that you have an affinity and a resonance with whatever's going on. Forget who it is and how they're presenting it. Go behind the scenes to your own feel for everything. So I felt okay. Can't say the same from the psychiatrist in the room. He wasn't too sure. And I walked the person up to our place. She had been locked away 20 years. And we were reevaluating. Psychiatrist said, oh, 20 years, they couldn't do a thing with her. She was crazy. I didn't feel that way. I liked her. And so it turned out that she had a very sad story. And it had nothing to do with being crazy. It had to do with the times. When she was 16, her mother got mad at her, and this woman, as a teenager, spit in her mother's face and was institutionalized for 10 days as a punishment. This is back, I guess, in the 1950s, because I saw her in the 70s. And she had to stay there, because within the 10 days, her mother died, and her brother, who was older and capable of taking her out, refused. And so she was fine. We helped her. But then I had somebody else come in. Can't mention names. I opened the door of our unit. Now, my desk was sitting to the left of the doors against the wall. So the doors open up, and behind him, the man that was coming in would be the worker who was sent down there, whether it's nurse, social worker, psychiatrist, from my unit, small unit. But the guy opens up this double door and goes, oh, Jesus. And mentally I said, everybody duck. And all I did very quickly was imagine myself in this beautiful, wondrous light, filled with light pink, For me, the color of universal love. You see a baby and you go, oh my God, that's light pink to me. You see a baby sleeping or a puppy cuddled up on you or a kitten playing with you. That's the gentle, clear blues and a little light pink. So I played with that quickly. It was all over me. And I felt different. So when he took like 8 steps in front of my desk, I had a big desk, thank God. But I had a big desk and he stood there. And I looked at him. I can't repeat exactly what I said because this was 1972 in the South Bronx, and I learned the language, had to match the person I was speaking to so that I can gain their respect quickly and not be somebody totally separate from them and antagonistic. And so I looked at him and I may shock you. And I hesitate, but nah, I'll tell you anyhow. And I was sitting in this big, comfortable wooden cushioned chair. Right? And I said, you see this chair? Because he had a chair, he wouldn't sit. He was standing there. I said, you see this chair? It's going over your head. Yeah, I almost said it. Right. It's going right over your head. Sit down now. He sat right down. And I thought, this is not going to be a fun trip for us. And it wasn't. It was horrible. He turned out to be a very incredibly rage-filled, and who knows why, we never got to the core with him. But when he was not released through us, because we didn't feel he should be, but we didn't have a choice. That came directly from the director of the hospital. So he was released. And when he would come in as an outpatient, but he saw me outside. I had parked my car in a parking lot right across the street from the hospital. And one day he's following me and he had that look again. And that look was a very scary look. Guess what I did? My natural shields. And when I did the natural shields, suddenly appeared peripherally 2 of my friends who were physicians in training. We had become very close friends. And they both saw what was going on because the guy was maybe 5 steps from me, gaining steps, as I was nearing the entrance to the hospital. But even in the hospital, it can be scary and if there's no one around to catch what's going on. And they both just put their arms in my arms and said, hey, Nancy, let's go. My pinks and my blues. So natural shields, I thought about for a long time. And I thought, wait a minute. I remember seeing all of the paintings, the Renaissance paintings, Christ and the disciples, Moses coming down from the mountain, angels. They all have halos. But I remember seeing literally kind of halo-like things in people, some people when they were giving talks, like Wayne Dyer. You don't know who he is, D-Y-E-R, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's on the other side now, and a wonderful angel on earth. And when I saw him, I was with my girlfriend, Julie Bond Genovese. Julie Bond Genovese wrote a book, and I forgot the title she originally wanted it to be. And she called me one day, and she's a dwarf. So it has a meaning to the story. And she said, Nancy, I have to make a wish for getting the person I would love most to endorse my book. I said, who? She said, Dr. Wayne Dyer. Now this goes back, I don't know, 15 years or so. And I said, oh, really? Well, make your wish. And I hung up. Dialed the next number. Hi, Edna. Last name not telling. Edna was the book tour agent for Warner Brothers for decades. And when Wayne was starting out, and for 20 years, she was his book agent. And then he had a contract with another company or self-published. I don't remember what happened, but he always stayed in touch with her. And she had said to me, there were only about 3 people, that's why I can't name, that she put on book tours who were all well-known, who were loving, compassionate, empathetic, kind, and good, and not big egos. And she said Wayne was the best of the best. Here's his number. I said, you don't mind? She said, he won't mind at all. Just tell him I said so. So I called back Julie. And I said, Julie, would you like to call Dr. Wayne Dyer? Silence. I said, I have his number. The only thing you have to say is this is a good friend of Edna so-and-so, and he will talk with you. So she calls me back shortly afterwards, and she said, oh my God, he invited you and I to his lecture in New York City. Can we go? I said, of course, I'll take you. So we went, and we were invited guests, and it was lovely, and we had a good time. And Wayne endorsed her book, and he gave her a different title called Nothing Short of Joy. Here's a woman who's gone through a lot. Her frequency, her vibration, her light had natural shields, no matter what. She went through an awful lot, but as long as she stayed in that light, even in the tough times, it was much easier to go through. And I think about what that actually means. Why we see in the paintings that beautiful, gorgeous halo around some people. Think of the light, the full light passing through everything, everywhere, all the time, containing infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite abundance of energy, life-giving creation, creativity endlessly. Everything and anything. It's everything. So imagine that it's so easy for us to forget because we're here. We've got work to do. I've got my computer. I've got to, do this and that. If we remember that we are in the light all the time, and we remember it by imagining, we can feel it, we can see it. Some of us can, some can't. So what? Doesn't matter if you can see any of it. It's real. It's there. It's as real as you taking a breath. Well, matter of fact, it's realer because you couldn't take it without the light. Get me? So I am suggesting something. If you don't do it every so often, if you're chilly, imagine the light is more red, warming colors, orange, the sun, like the sun. But if you want cool, imagine the blues, the greens, right? All there, because as you imagine, I believe that you're actually changing, if you will, use this funny term, because I don't even understand it when I say it, but I get the feel of it, the algorithm of thought, the equation of thought, chemistry, feeling, everything. It determines what light passes through us, what part of the spectrum is stronger. We can shift it around, just as our attitude can shift it around. Right? I can complain. I can pout. I can be angry. I can be all those things. And you can see it in the change of the light around. If I sit quietly, and if you have friends to practice with, you can do it on FaceTime, you can do it on Zoom, you can do it in person, doesn't really matter. I want you to sit opposite each other. Get the light really dim, almost negligible, as dim as you can without being total darkness. You want to be able to see something. And pretend, even if you can't do it, that of course you can. Belief helps. And look at each other, but don't look directly at the face. Look around, right? Just look around here. Don't shift your eyes. Just look to the right or the left and stay there for a little while and ask yourself, what colors are there? I don't see color, says one. Yeah, so I've done this with a lot of workshops, and it's fun because here you go. I have them all write it down first. Don't tell, write it first. Because if you see one person saying, oh, there's a lot of orange around them, and it's very bright, and I see something else, the next person who didn't get that goes, oh, I'm wrong. No, that's not how you do it. Okay, I'm giving you a little hint about how you make sure you know when you're there and when you're not. And so if you can get a feel or a glimpse of it, let's say there are 3 of you, and all 3 see in each other, 2 see one who's got this yellow, orange, kind of sunny kind of energy. And that person goes, oh, that's funny. I was thinking of being outside beautifully when you were tuning into me. That's how you do it. But you write it all down. Okay? So my hint for the day is those shields are always around. Love is always around. And a lot of times we are so into heavy emotions, heavy heart. And sometimes it's because something just happened, and that's okay. That's life. But when it isn't, and we're simply carrying it forward, that's not okay. So paint your colors all around you as the soft, gentle, perfectly you colors. And watch how you feel after that. Lift yourself up. And by the way, if you want more ideas, The Life of a Psychic Detective, my book, it's on Amazon. Signed copies at my place, but if you're on Amazon Prime, you get free shipping. And in each chapter, I talk about an activity or an exercise you can do with yourself, with others. And so you can teach yourselves. I taught myself. That's why I'm sharing with you and saying, it took me years, but I'd like to pass it on quickly so that you can gain confidence and trust in your own abilities. Got it? So if you do, let me know how it goes. I wish you all to know how full of love and light you are.